Hey guys, I'm Al Washington, and welcome to my Mystical Loves podcast, the Halloween edition. And speaking of Halloween, I'm glad you guys had a good time with Halloween last night with the candy, the drinking, and the partying, and all that. So the whole enchilada. I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it. I'm very excited to bring on a very special guest. She is the Mistress of Horror, D.L.Tillery, the author of the upcoming, well, book one's out, Caliostro, and she just released her La Draga yesterday. So
Yeah.
next her other, excuse me, her novella La Draga yesterday. So I'm gonna definitely go ahead and pass the mic over to D.L.Tillery. D.L.Tillery, if you want to say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. D.L.Tillery here, the Mistress of Horror. And as you heard, Ladriga just released on Halloween. I thought I would give that as a little short treat for everybody for Halloween since I didn't make my own wanted deadlines because you know how that is as a writer. We're always trying to meet these deadlines, and then sometimes life gets in the way and it doesn't work
That's
out. But
right.
I still wanted to give everybody a treat. So there's Ladriga for everybody for Halloween.
I know that's right. Yeah, absolutely, guys. So definitely it's out on ebooks and on Amazon Kindle. Definitely please purchase it. Definitely get it today. Very good.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, we're gonna get right into it. Speaking of novella, I did read Tales of the Winterwolf. Thank you very much. Beautiful story, like I said, setting up the world for the prequel to Caliostro.
Yeah.
And speaking of Caliostro, yeah, like what started it? I mean, I love the world in general, like the dark fantasy. Asking like what started Caliostro?
I mean, I've always had a love for vampires, other creatures, werewolves, and things like that, fallen angels, all those type of things. And the funny thing about Cagliostro is it started as a vampire tale, and it completely went a 180 and didn't end up a vampire tale. Yes, there's vampires in it, there's vampire lore in it, but it is anything but a vampire tale. So.
Wow.
It started as that, which is funny to me now, seeing it what it is and knowing what it really is. And I'm laughing back at my younger self writing the vampire tale because I always was infatuated with vampire stuff. I even have like my own vampire book collection, a vampire movie collection, and always read vampire stuff when I was a kid. So when I started writing Cagliostro, oof, I guess now that when it released last year, the first book in three-part series, I think I had been, it started as that vampire tale probably 10 years prior to that. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was about 2010 when I first started writing Cagliostro, and it wasn't called Cagliostro at that time.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's funny how it has blossomed into what it is, and it's that when you think about your stories or your writing and you go back and look at your old writing when you first
Yeah.
started and you're like,
Yeah.
girl, what is this even?
Right.
You know, so yeah, I'm still kind of blown away that it started as just a simple vampire tale and it's not that at all now. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I
and
hear
that's why
that.
it started just from vampires. Yep.
Okay. And then with that, like you said book two is coming out. How's that coming along? How do you feel about
Um,
book two coming out?
book two is actually a little delayed compared to what my original plans was because as a reader myself, I kind of hate it when writers when they have a series and it takes 4 years or
Yeah.
something. I'm just throwing out a random number, but it
Right.
takes 4 years for book two to come out. So I did want to stick to a, release one a year situation. But again, life gets in the way. So it's
That's right. Yeah.
pretty much finished, but I always like to go back through and check for any other issues I think is there. So more or less your second draft. The first draft, only thing that's left is like the last chapter or so for I call it my skeletal draft. So that's where book two is currently. And I do like live sprints and stuff technically when I'm writing a lot of my stuff
That's
so
right.
that other people can see my process and see me doing it and things like that and get to talk with my audience and other writers. So if you frequent my channel on YouTube, you'll see me probably writing Cagliostro book two, finishing it up, and then I can finally get to revisions, things for draft two, which is like you get to take a little slight breather for when you finish the first draft, but then you kind of have to jump back in and clean it up because I like to say I add the sides and the dessert for the second draft, because when I write the first draft, I don't worry about those type of details, and then I go back in, and that's when the book picks up more words to it, so to speak. So yeah, book two is almost done. So I expect it to release in 26. So yeah, that's where I'm
Okay.
at with that.
Very nice. No, and you went back because you said it took you more than 10 years for Caliostro. I mean, wow, I thought I had the same problem as a writer. It's like, wow, it's taken me, it seemed like years are passing and excuse my language, the shit is just not coming out how I want it
Right,
to as writers, man.
right.
Woo, I know. And that's good you're taking
You
your
don't
time.
ever know.
That's right, you don't. And like I know you want to get it out as well as you like I just want to get this one out because I have the next one up. But at the same
Yep.
time, the puzzle pieces aren't fitting
Yeah.
and the meat you got to keep sauteing and marinating. It's just,
Yep.
I'm
A
glad. Thank
good
you.
example of that is when I
Ugh,
did book one, when
right.
I was doing the second draft, there is actually a chapter in book one that wasn't even planned that I added after I finished the book the first time. Because I was like,
Oh
okay,
God.
well, this is, I want to add this, and I think this should be said. So there's a chapter called Business of the, was it Business of the Supernatural or Business of the Unnatural? And that particular chapter is about, because Cagliostro is a CEO, he has like CEO business that he does. Because in the human world, to people, he looks like he's the owner of like a hotel chain.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So the business of the unnatural chapter was added after I finished the first book. So it's kind of funny how when you go back and do a second draft, there might be stuff that you added that even wasn't in
Right.
your outline because I'm a plotter. So I have a whole outline, but there is still stuff you're going to discover that the character needs to do or you want them to do to get where they're going. So that's always an interesting process that people are unaware of as writers that we deal with. So, you know.
No, you're right about that. No, because again, when people are looking at our work, you guys are looking at the final outcome. So you can, I'm sure they'll read Cagliostro probably like in a couple of days or something. They don't know exactly the process of what it takes to
Yep.
actually create the damn book, like the plot
Yes, the
out.
blood, sweat, and tears that go into writing a book. And I had said this,
Ooh,
and this is off topic, and I'm not going to talk about it long, but
right.
the there just doesn't seem to be, and you probably heard me talk about this on my live stream. Like,
Right.
I don't think there's enough respect in what goes into writing books because people see the book on the shelf or online or whatever,
Yeah.
and they see it for the little bit that we make on these said books, and they don't understand the literal sweat, blood, and tears that we have to put into this product, all the things that it takes to produce it. And just to go into being an indie author, we have even more on our plate because we're not traditionally published, and we're
Right.
taking all those things on that the publisher would generally do for us as
That's
well.
right.
So then we have even more because we're running a business on top of being the writer. We're not just the writer. So
That's right.
it's not enough respect in the point that we have to fight through pricing and we don't have a lot of choices, particularly where we put our book price at, because the people we're publishing it through, far as the distribution, they tell us where the line will be because of the printing. So we don't have a lot of choice, but people want to look at us like, why is your book this
Yeah,
priced? You know, like
that's
I
right.
don't necessarily always have a choice, and I'm making maybe 35 cents or 85 cents a book. So after all that work. So it's a lap of love. Like you really have to love
Right.
doing it to take the hits that you have to take sometimes.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, and I think you mentioned on your live stream in the past couple of weeks ago when you did inspire me when I came to you and asked you because you obviously have books that are published, and I'm working on my first novella, meaning that
Right.
because I was debating, am I going to do self-publishing or am I going to do traditional publishing? But I'm
Right.
already creating the world now for the novella, and I
Yeah.
understand I'm not doing traditional publishing now. But then the publisher's like, well, oh Al, this is kind of similar to what we're doing out now. We're gonna
They're
leave
gonna
your book on
hold
the
you.
shelf. Yeah, exactly. No, the hell with all
Yeah.
of that because I'm already creating the world my
Right.
first novella when it comes out, it may not be a big quote unquote bestseller, but at the same time, like I said, I'm creating the world, and you guys are gonna put that on hold because of some similar reasons. Like, no, let me work out the kinks.
Yep.
It's gonna be coming out. I don't need people putting myself on the shelf for 2 year. Oh well, no, no, no.
Yep.
It's yeah, it's
Yep, it's a lot of variables when you go traditional to indie. And I heard recently a lot of people do think that we'll choose indie publishing because
right.
we think it's the easier route, or we didn't think we were good enough to get traditional, or we couldn't get a traditional deal or something like that. That is not always the case. It is the case for
Yeah,
some people, but my case was I'm sorry, but I like the control.
that's
I
right.
want to, when I want to put out a story about whatever it is, I can decide that, okay, I'm publishing this and I'm putting this story out. I don't take it any less professional. I do
That's
all
right.
the stages to get my book out just like they would a traditional. But I still want that control of what
That's
I want my book cover to be. Yes, there are people in the industry that could say, well, this isn't sellable as it is, but this
right.
is what I want to sell.
Right.
So I don't have that on me, and that's why I chose indie.
Good for
So,
you. Yeah, and I was debating about that. Like I said, man, it was a very tough decision. I didn't say there's pros and cons on each side
of
either way,
course.
but at the same time, control and also that if we may not have the certain look or Al, you may
Yep,
not because there's not a lot of diversification. That's another big factor too. Is that again, but I'm creating my world. I'm not going to have you guys put my stuff on hold no matter how big it sells
exactly.
because the train's gonna keep moving and I'm setting my shop up now. So I already
Yeah,
have,
exactly. And
yeah.
diverse voices are important, and that's the
Absolutely.
where the voice is because yes, my characters are most likely going to represent me a lot of the times and look,
That's right.
because okay, I have a very mixed background, so my
Hmm.
characters are probably going to have somewhat of a mixed background, most likely going to have brown skin like me, and I think that that's okay because we have like, representation in that even today
That's right.
in books and in fantasy. Definitely. So I think it's important that we do represent ourselves as well in these settings because it wasn't always the case and it's still very slim pickings, to be
That's
honest.
right. Absolutely. But at the same time, Dia, on a side note, yeah, and I agree with you there. I'm all for diversity, like I said. So, but I was a little more
Yes.
hesitant. It's like, well, I'm not a black author. I'm an author who is black. So if I write for white characters, I can do that.
Yep.
Asian, Latino, whatever. You
Exactly.
don't have to read it. But I'm just saying that
Exactly.
the stereotype of you need to write this and that in the hood. First of all, I'm just using it as an example.
Oh
I'm
my
not from
goodness.
exactly the stereotype that we're supposed to be writing. No,
Right. You
no,
can
I'm
write
not
your
from.
cards. They may look like you, but the whatever the prejudices are, or whatever the thought processes are behind around what someone looks like that they should
That's
act
right.
like. That's very odd to me. Now, if I go to a point like my like Caliostro in that book, as far as representation of look,
Right.
Allison, who's the female lead in the book, Allison was based off a race of people who is from like African middle like African island based people,
Right.
and her look is like that, but she's not called that particular race in the book because I don't really go into that because they're supernatural creatures.
Right.
Caliostro, if he was in our world, he would have been of German and Middle Eastern mix and descent,
Mhm.
as far as his look is concerned. But that doesn't really mean much anything. It's just most likely because people design a lot of the times what they look like. That's normal. That's
Exactly.
to be expected. But a lot of the times they're like, well, it's fantasy, and we expect to see a character that's Caucasian looking in a lot of cases, and it's weird if you see someone brown skin. And I'm like,
Mm.
why would it be weird? I'm brown, so maybe some of my characters would be more brown presenting.
Right.
That tends to be the case. It can happen. But I have characters who have all races, like my
Right.
first short story that came out, Room Within, the main character on there, Daniel, is Caucasian. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And
Yeah.
that was just
Okay.
because he so happened to be. It wasn't planned or thought out. It's just that's how
Exactly.
it worked out. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
it's just not the case. He's white presenting, but I don't really bring up the race thing far as naming races in the book
Right.
unless the story is based in our human world, which I don't write a lot of in my horror and dark fantasy.
That's
I
right.
don't really bring it up because a lot of the times it's otherworldly based things. Now, I do have plans to release some of my romance stuff, and it will be more human based a lot of times, stuff for my paranormal romance stuff.
That's
But
right.
it's only relevant to bring it up when it's relevant to bring it up.
That's right.
Now, we are born whatever race we are. We don't think about ourselves as more than just humans, more or less, until people make you think of that as you grow up and become an adult. You don't come out thinking like, what race am I? Like you don't. It's just that
Yeah.
people start making you be aware of it because that's what humans do.
That's
So
right.
it's not like we're trying to focus out to that, but people tend to design characters that may look so happily like them.
Exactly.
That's it.
I agree with
Whatever.
no, I agree with you, man. I think you should create whoever the hell you want to create, black, white,
Yeah.
Latino, whatever. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
with the traditional stereotyping that we're supposed to be writing a certain way. Oh, we're more hood, or our characters are not quote unquote too black. I don't know what the hell that means. Again, I'm
That
not
it
from
means
here.
nothing except for what people tried to tell you what it's supposed to mean.
Exactly. I'm
And
not
that's all
from
it comes down to. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
That's
I've
right.
heard it my whole life because I'm a goth chick, so I wear black leather and lace and
Right.
stuff like that. And of course, I heard it growing up because when I got about 19, I was allowed to wear makeup because I grew up in a Christian home, and so I could express who I was as I reached adulthood. And I
Yeah.
was in like anime clubs and stuff like that, and I was dressed like I was. And you get stuff from certain people who not used to seeing people with brown skin
Yeah.
dressed like this or that, as far as they say. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, this is just who I am. So I don't know why you think it had to be race based. So I heard it plenty of times. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like
No,
you're a
trust
black goth, and I'm like, or I'm just goth.
crickets.
Like
I
I don't
know.
know why you had to bring up any race, but okay, that's
Right.
fine.
Crickets and chirps
People
and
are
music.
weird. That's all I can say about that. But they can't just be people. Humans have been fighting a long time about this, and I figure they will continue to fight well past my lifeline. So
You're right
what
about
can I
that.
say?
No, you're right about that. You guys write as writers, creators, you do how you write, however you would like to write. Again, I'm just saying again, I'm not from the hood. I'm not going to pretend I'm going to be the hood or fit into some stereotype of how black authors, excuse me, are supposed to write and bring
Right?
out their characters. The hell with all of that. No, I threw that out of the window.
It's ridiculous if people are
Yeah,
telling you anything of the sort because
that's
what have
right.
they got to do with anything? Like,
And
okay.
seriously, that's what I'm saying. And even you said your first novella, but even my short vignette, short film piece,
Yeah.
not to be okay, not to, I don't know what it says to be a factor. They happen to be all white actors, but they simply
Okay.
fit the right for the part. Okay.
Yeah,
And
if
I
it
just,
happens, then it is what it is. So it's like, people are like, well, how did Daniel end up being like a Caucasian percentage
it's,
male? I'll be like, he just so happened to be. And I didn't realize if he was until after the book was done, more or less, because I just don't mention race, rather it's more tools in it or whatever. That's just not really how I write. All writers write
exactly.
differently. Some do find reason to do description. That's fine. They do or don't have to. So, because a lot of people say that they just imagine the character the way that they want to, or whatever the case is. Now, only issue I have with that is if the writer very specifically is having it writing a story about an experience of a very specific race of people, and then
Okay.
somebody come up, well, I imagined that this person, this character is white, and I'm
Right.
like, well, they clearly the writer wrote a black male in a experience of his life, so you can't sit there and imagine that he's a white guy. That
Right.
would be weird, you know. So in
Right.
those instances, but when we talk about fantasy and stuff, like a lot of the you'll notice the writers don't necessarily particularly mention human race
That's right.
things and issues that we have because we're removing it from it because we're in another world that most likely wouldn't have those same issues because that's a human issue, apparently.
That's right. Yeah.
That's all we know anyway.
I know that's right. Well, anyway, the
If
Caliostro,
aliens out there fighting over each other's differences, I wouldn't know about it. So
you're right about I know nothing about that, but overall, the cover for Caliostro book one is beautiful. Like I said, the
thank you.
diversification, just beautiful cover, beautiful story. I'm finishing up with Tales of the Winter Wolf, the prequel to it. I'm getting to
Yeah.
jump on Caliostro next. So
Yep.
definitely guys check it out because book one is out, everybody on Amazon Kindle. Definitely check out on D.L. Tillery's website. So absolutely.
Yep.
Now, DL, tell us about your upcoming Lord Divine Exotic. Is it anthology that you're working on? Your
Yes, it's an erotic anthology that I'm a part of. I think there is one, two, three, four. Hold on, I think like six authors in this anthology.
Oh,
And our thing for this particular anthology was to write a story that had a twist, and it had to be a type of mythos from whatever culture. And
okay.
you could do a retelling if you wanted to, and a god of some sort from that set mythos. So I'll have two stories in this erotic anthology from two of
Okay.
my different pen names. And I've kind of noticed that I've been introduced to the public in an anthology because The Room Within was originally in an anthology with other horror writers, and then Fractals was also in an anthology before I released them solo, and of course, well before Caliostro came out. So this
Mhm.
will happen again with these two particular pen names that I have. And I have two because one is very particularly for my romance stuff and one is going to be for my erotica stuff. because sometimes those readers aren't interchangeable. Sometimes they are, like myself. I read erotica and romance erotica interchangeable. Doesn't matter to me if it has sex on the page or not on the page. Totally fine with me. Some people care. I do not. I am not prudish or even like, oh no, hands off, none of that. Believe that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I wrote two tales for this particular one. It has some good stories in this book. It's supposed to release in 26. We've been
Okay.
working on it for a while behind the scenes as a team. Aphrodite Lee actually is the author behind the project because she writes
Nice.
erotica under Minx Connote. So some of these stories, okay, people not ready.
Oh, oh my. Oh, oh my.
One of the stories in this book
What?
is I didn't write this particular one, but one of these
Okay.
stories are going to make you look at the Milky Way in a totally different way. You're
Really?
going to be looking up at the stars like, I don't know how I feel about that.
You say nobody's ready. Okay.
Some of these stories,
Ooh.
I was like, this, I write rock, but this is
Well,
ready. So this is going to be, I'm excited about that project particularly, but I'll be talking about it more on my channel, of course, as I know the release date. We're going to do a
okay.
Kickstarter for it, so that'll be something I'll talk about on there. But like y'all not ready for some of these stories. But I wasn't even ready. I read all of them already because I was
Damn.
wanting to read us for it. But like some of those stories, I was like, you got me. I'm just
Dio, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, you said we're not gonna be ready. What is it? All porno or something? I mean, okay.
No, it's
Okay.
not that because see now a lot of times we separate. This is a running joke, but they'll
Okay.
say men look at porn, though women we do too. But they'll say
Yeah.
men look at porn and women we read it. That's
Yeah.
supposed to be a running joke. But as far as erotica, it can be different flames. So we have like you have one flame to five flames in this setting for lore, the divine. And so you'll have stories in there that has lower flame, and you'll have stories in there that have higher flame.
Okay.
So some writers write their sex scenes more detailed, some do fade to black, some use different wording than others, things like that. So my particular one of the stories I could talk about in there is my horror erotica. Now
Okay.
that's a very
Wow.
particular style and it's not for everybody. Um,
Oh my God.
to say the least. One of the readers, because we had to have like beta readers and stuff for it. One of the beta readers that read that particular story that I wrote, the horror erotica one, she said, "Wow, I was in the middle of reading it, and my female interest. I'm just gonna change the word a little bit. My female
Right.
interest, like." It just dropped off when I read the blood and gore and murder scene coming up. I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, you were warned when it said horror erotica. I don't know, so you
Okay.
know what I mean. So, but I think my story is the only story in it that's horror erotica. Then you have like this is standardized, like you have paranormal. Like I wrote a paranormal erotica that's in there. So
Okay.
in this case of erotica, it usually has sex on the page in most cases, more
Okay.
detail. Everyone's wording is different. I don't write Hilloquent, which is more like flowery erotica, where they talk about like her flower petals and blah blah blah. I don't do that.
Okay.
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 I'm
Well,
very direct. I'm
I
not, it's
hear
not
that.
flowery far as I'm concerned. That's not how I write mine. But yeah, so it has sex in it. So if you're into erotica, then hey, it's the book for you. And this one's like fantasy and paranormal. It's a little
Okay.
something for everyone in this particular anthology. So definitely, if you read erotica, check it out.
Okay, no, and all right, yeah, I'm gonna definitely check that out. But I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't think a book, like you say, most women quote unquote read about um,
Sex, but they they
sex or
they
whatever.
say that it's a running joke.
Right, but no, I didn't. I'm not gonna lie. 50 Shades of Grey. I know people have their opinions and reviews of how it was
Yeah.
written technically,
Mhm.
but I didn't think I was gonna get not aroused by the book. And I did read the first one. I was like, damn, I didn't think I was gonna be aroused by reading this shit. I don't know about
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
actually, the how it's written, a lot of times you'd be surprised how the written word can and arouse you. It could very
Ooh,
much so. I mean, of course, we know males are more visual creatures, as they
yeah.
say. Women, we are more emotional creatures on the sense that we can connect through words being written. So that's hence why if you check it, the highest amount of books that sell in a genre, romance, it's like the top. And that's because of women. I'm not gonna lie, it is. That's the biggest demographic we don't play. So women, if you write romance, you probably gonna be okay. Like I'm not lying. Like that area, those readers, they will stick with you. They're not playing over there, okay? But yeah, erotica and romance always does well because in erotica they know what they're there for. Like
Uh-huh.
even when it has a good story, and to me it needs a good story. I'm like Jackie Chan, when he said I like the ones with stories. Um,
Oh my God. Okay.
but like in that instance, the story still needs to be good to me. But
Yes,
the
that's true.
sex being good on page is also a plus. You know what I mean?
That's true. I just feel ashamed. I was like ashamed. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I did get a little aroused. I'm not gonna lie when I read the
Right,
first
so
one.
you can, and that's sometimes that's what people are there for. They're not trying to listen a short erotica story because our lore divine is short stories within it to make it. And the book is actually coming out to be a decent size. I think it's around like 75,000 words. So we got
Okay.
like with the amount of stories that we got in there, it became quite a good size novel. So yeah, if you're into erotica, don't pass it up. It's a good one. I promise. I read all the stories already, so
Oh,
I can recommend
okay.
it.
No, I'm definitely I know you're gonna keep everybody posted with that. Okay. So as we whew, let me move on. But what inspired you to become a creative writer? Like what lit a fire under your ass to become a writer overall and an
Oh,
author?
it started quite early for me. I was quite young when I started writing just tales, short tales, and poetry really
Mhm.
started me with that. I actually got published for my poetry when I was about 19, and I entered like a contest, and then it ended up in a book. You'd have to buy a copy to get a copy, but it was quite a few of them out there. So that kind of lit the fire under me. I knew I wanted to be a writer by the time I was 12 because it's funny, before that I wanted to be a meteorologist. And my
Okay.
mom worked at Johns Hopkins Hospital. She was the ambassador and a PSO officer there. And she used to be in contact with a lot of the news people. So she actually knew some meteorologists that said, well, if she's still interested at 12, because that's usually when children change their mind,
Uh-huh.
then I could take her under our wing and we could show her like the rope stuff so she could have hands on early. So by the time I was 12, they were right.
Yeah,
I
right.
changed my interest and I knew I wanted to be a writer because I had already started writing stories and things, just little things. So that's when I started quite young. I was always fascinated into like fantasy stories and everything. And my mom was a big horror buff when I was a kid, so I grew up watching horror and stuff like that. And my dad was a movie buff, so I saw a lot of fantasy and things like that.
Nice.
So I already was interested in writing then. So it started at a young age, and I just decided whenever I'm the type of person when I decide to do something, I go full on in. Whatever that is, I want to make sure I do it before I'm gone from this mortal
Right.
coil. So everything I've had interest in, I do it. So writing was, of course, going to be one of those things, and publishing, and it happened. And you're author, the beginning, I should say.
That's right. I hear that. Now, do you have a favorite author? Do you have a favorite book series or a writer that you inspire you or just in general?
Yes, R.A. Salvatore is my favorite fantasy writer. I really love him. I have all of the Dritz Duardin books, which is one of the characters that he writes, and he's a dark elf. And in the Forgotten Realms, he is they're onyx skinned. So he's
Okay.
actually onyx skinned with purple eyes and has like white hair. And that's the very particular type of elf in the Forgotten Realms. And he has written this character forever. I've been reading this character since I was a teenager. And I'm 41 this year.
Oh,
So I've been
gosh.
reading a long time. And I have like the entire collection of Dritz Duardin books. I have like the Dritz Duardin figurines and statuettes, and his love interest on his name Canterbury. I have her statuettes, and he has like a Black Panther that he takes with him, and I have that statuette. So I'm very much into this particular character. So I really love Ari Salvatore's writing that inspired me to get into fantasy back in the day. So and I do, oh my God, I have a library, my own personal library of over about 4,000 books. And definitely Ari Salvatore stuff. I have Nora Roberts. I love romance. Now I'm a big
Nice.
romantic.
Hmm.
I only watch like Asian film. That started like I grew up into Japanese culture when I was a teenager because my older brother speaks Japanese fluently. I started learning to speak Japanese. Now I'm learning Korean,
Okay.
and I grew up in those type of cultures, and so that's all I watch. And
Oh, really?
Korean drama, yeah, that's all I watch. I don't watch
Yeah.
Western TV. When I say Western TV, I mean like Europe and any of that. Only thing I watch is just Korean dramas and Chinese dramas. So all day, that's what I do.
Oh, Miss Bougie. Oh, excuse me. Okay, not the
Right,
home.
excuse me, that's okay.
Well, excuse me. We're not the home soil, the U.S. base. Okay, that's okay. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. Okay, that's all right.
Well, when my romance stuff comes out, you'll see that flavor in there because I write CEO romances and stuff like that. So you'll see some of that taste in there. And I really have a big thing for Asian men. My daughter's father is Chinese and Puerto Rican, so that should tell you right there.
That's okay. Oh my, that's all right. That's okay. See, like it's a
And
beautiful.
my flavor, that's what I like. So okay.
That's okay. No, you see beauty in every color. Like I said, I don't
Sure
discriminate against
do.
that. You damn,
Sure
yeah.
do.
You see it in
Yep.
every. It comes in every shapes and colors. I definitely hear that. Okay, I get that. So, Dion, what about
That's
in?
right.
Oh, yeah, seriously, yeah. But hey, it works for some people. It works. That's all right. The beautiful diversification. Now, you
That's right.
mentioned, I do believe that you have a challenge. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? We have a few minutes remaining left. You have a werewolf challenge, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, I do. It starts today. It's for the whole month of November. It's on my YouTube channel. I did an announcement video about 2 weeks ago, and I did the first video for today. I have two co-hosts, Aphrodite Lee and Edie Lewis. Edie did release his video today. Aphrodite's probably will be coming soon, but I have a playlist as well that if you go on my channel, you can find it. The werewolf is a werewolf challenge because I love werewolves, and I figure I
Okay.
find other people who also do. It's called the Howl and Haunts an autumn werewolf challenge where you have 10 prompts and you can watch werewolf movies, you read werewolf-based books, and there even is a craft prompt for you to do. So if you go to my channel, you can check it out. And I even give some book recommendations and movie recommendations in my video I released today at 2 o'clock. Actually, it just came out.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're on. All right. Now I hear that. No,
Yep.
and I got your obviously your video because I am subscribed to the Mistress of Horror. I definitely want to do your challenge. So I guess I'm gonna definitely take a look at the video. I always got the notification for it. So you guys definitely
Cool.
please feel free to check that out.
Yep.
As we wrap for a few minutes, do you have any advice for any inspired writers or even to the well-known writers and the
Yes.
creators? Any advice or feedback?
I would like to say that you need to believe in yourself, and that's not always the easiest thing, especially if you have people saying in your ear, like, "Yeah, I don't know if you should do this," or blah blah blah. Just you need to believe in yourself. Love the stories that you write. Put out the stories that you want to tell.
That's right.
You know, there's always a system to a thing. It's okay to learn that system. It's okay to learn the things that you should do as a published or as a self-published or a traditional published author. We
That's
all
right.
should try to get, professional editors and formatters and cover design. If you can't do it yourself, you do need to look into that. And there are all kinds of things for everyone's budget. You just have to look around and get resources. YouTube is a great source for that. So I'd recommend using YouTube to look up something you do not know. It's okay to ask questions if you don't know it. Assuming will always get you in trouble. So, for your own peace of mind, definitely try your best to believe in you and tell the stories that you want to tell. That's the best advice I could give.
That's right. And absolutely. And speaking regarding with self-publishing, I know most people, please try not to, and this goes for me as well, because I have a habit of doing this. Don't compare yourself to other people on other levels. You stay in your lane. It's good to learn from those who have even one or two or more out to you, or who even
Yep.
wrote longer than you. Because most people
Yep.
are thinking self-publishing, oh, it's easy. Yeah. Again, it's how you use it. Don't think it's going to be the easier route. And again, don't compare yourself to other people. Yeah, you have more obviously control, but at the same time, it's like please don't compare yourself to other
Yes.
people. Don't think it's more easier because it's self-publishing. Because like I said, like you
Yes.
said, you got to literally put in the work.
You do.
And just like when you're doing a film, or you're as an indie filmmaker, like I said, that's my majority of my background. They go, anybody can bring out a camera. Yeah, that is true, but it's the same time, it's
Yep.
how you do it. Just the same thing when you want to
Exactly.
run your own business. Same thing. They go, well, or anybody can just do it. Yeah, that's true. Anybody can just write something down, but it's how you do it. It's how you use the
Yep.
resources, how professional you want to get this out. So, because
Yep.
like I
Take it
said,
serious. Take it
yeah,
serious.
that's it. So, but again, that's up to completely up to you, however you want to do it.
Yep.
So,
Very true.
thank you. But DL, thank you very much for coming on because I wanted
Thank
to get you
you.
on for a while. I'm definitely looking forward to your future projects as well as
Yep.
still finishing up with your latest book.
Yep. Thank
You
you.
guys, no, you're very welcome. You guys definitely check her out, her YouTube channel, her website, author D.L.Tillery.com. So author D.L.Tillery.com. Okay.
Yep.
You guys
Yep.
enjoy the rest of your Halloween weekend, and I will see you next time.
Yep. Stay